Okay. This piece specifically is a piece of Ned Rorem's, who is a American composer. He's like 98 years old now, which is insane. He's still alive. He was born in 1923. He started composing when he was like 18, and also just like wrote diaries and showed it to a friend of his who worked at a publishing house, and they started publishing his diaries, and it was like very huge because he was a wonderful writer, but also he wrote very candidly about his experience as a homosexual man, like in the 1950s, 1960s, and like throughout. And this is one of his diaries from around the same period, and it's ridiculous because he is like very much in the like, oh, I am 28 and I'm fucking good at what I'm doing and my ego is huge. So you read this and it's like going back and forth between like, I am so existential about death, and then it's like, I'm the greatest composer that ever lived. By taking a significant amount of the direct quotes from Ned Rorem's diary, the composer that I'm talking about, I was able to create a script that kind of went along with the piece that I'm also doing. He lived through the AIDS crisis. He experienced, there's like a whole part of his diaries that, is just a long battle of watching his partner pass away from AIDS. So having all of that context of like, okay, this is a person who is still alive today but has so much experience from a time that I will never be able to like fully understand. So connecting that to my own experience and how that has changed with time is really my goal for this piece, a conversation of how do we as like the younger queer generation still understand and connect with our elders. Famous last words of Ned Rorem: crushed by a chalk, gnawed by the pox, stung by wasps in dire pain. How do I look? It's harder to maintain a reputation for being pretty than for being a great artist. It was really vain, which I think is also very funny. Last week I met someone on the outskirts of Ahafia about whom I brood incessantly with that pleasant nausea that comes at the beginnings of love. Like, it's very much like, we get it, you're like a gay man in the 1940s, like you are very poetic. But it works. I mean, it's so fantastic for this purpose exactly because like it feels it's a very lyrical, and it matches his style of composing so well. I'm excited to see what people think of it. The thing that I love about projects like this is that like after doing all that reading and trying to like immerse myself in this person's voice and world and like trying to understand them better, is that like stuff like this kind of just like falls together perfectly. Like I was sitting there kind of like structuring the script and I was like, oh, this actually all makes sense now because at this point I have such a good grounding like context for his life. I don't know, it's fun. I like doing it and it shows when I do it. I wouldn't do this if I didn't feel like I was able to bring a specific light and joy to it. Anyone could play these pieces, but I can play them and I can contextualize them in a specific way that no one else could. My desire is to make art that is for trans people, for even if if they don't know it yet, if they're still like figuring it out and haven't gotten to a place where they can be open, if they are fully out and have been for a very long time. Like, it is a desire to speak my own truth and like hopefully have that resonate and connect with other people in my community. I mean, that's all that my younger self could have ever hoped for, right? It's all that I wanted, was to be able to make art with a bunch of folks who were in my community and able to, like, we were lifting that experience and that voice up. And the fact that I'm like able to do it now, it's like, if I told like 15-year-old Ahafia that that's like what I was doing now, it would be like, oh, that worked out? Like, that's crazy. But I don't know, I'm very grateful for it like every day, and I try not to take it for granted too much because I know that, we're lucky to live in a city where that's possible. I have like an Instagram, but I don't have a website yet, but that's a goal for the summer. There's gonna be pictures on there and there's gonna be videos on there.